Hello, everybody. I'm Toby Shifsky. I'm Vice President of Kaplan Real Estate Education, and we are here for our Real Experts webinar. Our guest today is none other than Scott Jarvis. Scott, thanks for being here with us today.
You're welcome, Toby. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. If you guys don't know, well, I've known Scott. We were just trying to figure it out. It's at least 7 years, maybe longer. And Scott is going to help us understand really what it's going to take to kind of make your business thrive. And I think the real key here is how's it going to thrive long term? And I think it's a very refreshing way to look at it. Very old topic about building daily habits. But once again, Scott, I think if you don't know, Scott is the owner and CEO of Dale Carnegie Training in Southeast Florida. Scott is a trusted partner, right, for driving results in sales effectiveness, leadership development, and employee engagement. What have you been in it, 20 years, Scott?
I wish, Toby. It's wrong 30 now. I wish it was still
30
20.
years. Look at that. It says, yeah, I got my note says leveraged over 20 years ago.
That's
You've come
right.
clean, 30 years. His leadership has propelled the franchise, his Dale Carnegie, Southeast Florida, to the top 10% globally with consistent double-digit growth. In addition to facilitating customized local training, Scott helps to develop Dale Carnegie's worldwide training program, right, on global sales initiatives. He is a South Florida native, parents from Atlanta, we just figured that out, and an FSU alumnus living in none other than Fort Lauderdale. Scott, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Toby. It's a pleasure.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm excited about this, and I'm excited that Scott's here because I don't know about the rest of you and how many of you, as a matter of fact, maybe we could get just a quick indication from the people that are here today, maybe just a little show of hands. How many of you are familiar with the Dale Carnegie program? Some of you may have heard of Dale Carnegie, how to win friends and influence people. Look here, it's coming in, they're bombing in. I am. If you're not familiar with that, that's kind of the genesis of everything. But Scott, what I found out real quickly is it does so much more than that. In fact, one of the big dreams that I've had when talking with Scott is helping us fill a hole. Kaplan, we're really good at driving hard skills, right? Through teaching and education and training. You're like, here's the rules, the laws. You want to get licensed, this is what you got to do, this is what you need. Continuing education, we got rules and regulations we have to be able to operate within. There's only certain topics we can talk about. And they're usually relative to statute, but it's relative to principles and practices of real estate, acceptable principles and practices of real estate across the country, really kind of hemmed in. But Scott, what you deal with is a classic, soft skills, the interpersonal relationship skills, which if anybody in real estate knows, it's everything about relationship building. We put people, thousands of people through real estate licensing, Scott, to get their real estate license, and we teach them really well how to pass their test and to make that. But then they get out and go, that's great. Kaplan will keep you out of jail, keep you out of an orange jumpsuit. But really, the next level is understanding those interpersonal relationship skills because essentially you are entering the lead generation business and you have to be able to have those skills with people. And what does that really look like? And so I'm super excited because Scott's here and I've talked enough. I really want to jump into some questions, but Scott, let me just suffer with me just a little bit longer. And everybody, I want to ask a poll question because Scott says he wants to be able to kind of really target our conversation to who's in the audience today. So I'm going to ask a poll question, Scott, that's going to ask everybody, like, how long you've been in the real estate business. Some people are even just sitting in their real estate licensing education, but everybody, if you would take a second to answer this poll, if you're on your phone and you're doing this, you may have to swipe a screen over to find this poll, but I just posted a poll. And once again, all of our polls are anonymous. Our chats are not anonymous. Your name is on the chats, so be respectful. But in the polls, they're all anonymous. And please answer truthfully. And then, and I always share the poll, Scott, so everybody always knows what's happening. All right, here we go. And I'm going to wrap up the poll in five, four, three, two, one. All right, and I'm going to share the results. All right, Scott. So here's what we have. We have 58% of the people are still currently taking classes at Kaplan. Congratulations, you are on your way to a career. It's a really good topic for you today. It's going to be a really good topic. Less than 3 years. You kind of are starting to know what you don't know. I got 12% of the people are in that, right? And so you're kind of starting to know what you don't know. And really what you also find out is what you're thinking about is, do I have the right habits to make it long term in this business? 3 to 5 years, you're starting to figure out only 2% of the people, 5 to 10, 1%. But we have 10 plus years. 8% of the people are 10 plus years. You grizzled, wizened veterans who play along with us today, would you? And feel free to comment in the chats and help kind of drive some of this conversation today. Would really appreciate that. How about this? We got 18% of the people are just looking to get their license. They're just thinking about it. You also came to the right spot. You came to Kaplan. And Kaplan, if you don't know it, we associate with professionals in all the industries that we service. And so, Scott, let's go ahead. And I'm going to jump in with my first real kind of question for you. All right, Scott, if I want to form these habits, these good habits going into 2026, right? What is the single biggest disconnect, right, between people's long-term ambitions and their current kind of daily actions? What do you think what do you think it is?
First of all, I just want to thank you for having me, Toby. You're one of the most professional people that I know, and how you look to serve your community beyond test prep is just it's such a gift that our Kaplan community has. So I want to thank you for having me here today, and thank everybody for being here, knowing you don't have to be here, but you're investing an hour of your time to grow. So congratulations to you. Toby, people think of their goals as long term. I want to make $1 million, or I want to sell 10 houses, or maybe a simple January common theme could be I want to lose 20 pounds, whatever that might be. And it's, right. And the challenge, the disconnect that we see is that people don't aren't clear on their first step or their consistent steps to get there. And what I mean by that is that the hardest step would be the first step. So for example, if we're looking to, maybe lose weight, the first step might be I'm going to cut out something really hard first step, or I'm going to join a gym tomorrow. And as you know, the average gym has, like, for example, Toby, I did some research on gyms. There could be an LA Fitness that has 10,000 members, but maybe 2% go consistently. So we wonder why our stomachs or our muscles don't grow, or our stomachs don't reduce. And so it's really about, how do you break down what you want to accomplish into some very fundamental habits. I'm in Dale Carnegie for 30 years. My first step in being successful was business development.
Oh,
And I knew through my selling an intangible discretionary product that I had to make it happen. So part of my deal was prospecting. And my dad coached me to said, you know what, Scott, before you leave every day, make 5 outbound calls a day, just five a day. So what that meant, Toby, is 25 a week, 100 a month, 1,200 for the year. And I knew that if my closing ratio might be, 5% on a cold call, 5% of 1,200 would be 60 new meetings a year I would achieve. And of that, I knew I would close 30%. So I would get 20 new clients if I did that. Toby, when the disconnect also is when we take a vacation. So for example, meaning that if Monday I make my 5 touches, but then I take off Tuesday because I'm busy. So my advice is never take off. Whether you have to finish your small goal at 5:30 at night or get up a half an hour early, whatever you need to do to make it happen, make it happen.
make it happen. Small goals, do them consistent. I'm starting to hear this word consistent quite a bit. Well, how can someone shift from because I think of myself, I get in ruts. I'm pretty good about some things where I set a goal and do it. I'm a bicyclist, And last year I did U.S. National Gravel Championship, 75-mile bike race. If anybody out there bicycles, it was grueling, right? I mean, it was like 11,000 feet of climbing and 75 miles, and it was hard. And so, but I knew I couldn't go out there and start to train in the last 2 weeks before the race. And so it was a year-long thing, and it was getting up early in the morning. But that only happened because I've been cooked before trying to, do something without being prepared and setting these little daily habits. But I can find myself right now when I get to work sometimes, I have a little bit of a daily habit, but man, I find myself lots of times in this kind of reactive daily grind where I'm reacting to an email, or even the worst is I'm sitting at work and you get the instant messaging popping up, and somehow that takes priority over everything else you're doing. How can someone shift from a reactive daily grind, to a proactive system that consistently builds, towards their 2026 goals? How do they do that?
Yeah. I love the iPhone because it has a button that says "Do Not Disturb," and it connects to my MacBook. So right now we're on Do Not Disturb, so that people can reach me later on. I'll see it. So number one is we call that block time, Toby. So how can we find uninterrupted time to work on the business? Because what you said earlier, when you're reacting to calls, you're in it, but we got to find time to work on it. And when we work on it, then we see things more clearly and we can make better decisions.
Yeah. Beautiful. So, and I know this is for some people, like I said, we have some people in this business for 10 years. I promise there people who've been in this business for 10 years, they understand probably already pretty well how to block time, right? And so because like you said, I think the key there I get out of this is you can work in your business, which is the daily grind, right? You're answering calls, you're going to appointments, you're doing all this stuff. But you're saying be deliberate and schedule time to work on your business. Could
That's
be
right.
business planning. It could be understanding, what are the new daily habits I need to adopt in order to be successful. But working on your business is as important. And I would say this, it might even be more important the earlier you are in your career than working in your business so that right? Am I off on that?
No, and I love your title of our day today, real expert, because you have to ask yourself too, what are you committed to be an expert in? And we talk about longevity. For me, Toby, I'm an expert. If you put me in a room at a conference and you want me to shake hands with 400 people for 3 days, I'm really good at that. But I got there because I put myself out of my comfort zone by number one, blocking time to decide where I'm going, what are the right meetings, and then mastering this through habit building and having success. And that's what, to answer your question, how do you stay with something? Well, you have to enjoy it and you have to realize that you're good at it.
Yeah.
And by the way, during the block time, I love what you said. We're clarifying our role. We're trying new things. There was a story that I was told many years ago. They had a tree trimming, a tree trimming or tree what do you call it, knocking down a tree. There was a contest, and they
Yeah.
had two lumberjacks there, and one lumberjack, Toby, would you'd hear this noise knock, 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 and it was not stopped. All you would hear is chop, 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 chop. But then the second lumberjack, you would hear chop, 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 pause. Chop, 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 pause. So at the end, the judge knew who was going to win because it was the person that never stopped chopping. Well, what had happened is they realized that actually the other lumberjack won, that the person that was taking a pause cut more trees because in between the chopping, this individual was sharpening his axe or her axe.
Ah,
So they're better at it. And when we're better at something, for example, sales, then we can better able to handle objections. We understand the market. We don't get uncomfortable when we have we show a multi-million dollar home versus a $500,000 home, and the buyer has different expectations or are tough to deal with. The more we own who we are and become an expert, we can handle anything, Toby.
Love that. Yeah, that's like a whole nother webinar, that little piece you just talked about right there. You know, this handling objections, understanding who you are and understanding who you want to be and what does it take to get to who you want to be. I mean, because that's really what we're talking about here. We're talking about habits. We're talking about setting up daily things that, that get you to show up every day, and incrementally they start to stack, right? In fact, we talk about this lots of times when we talk about negotiating. We have negotiating classes. We do stuff with professional negotiating. And the thing I tell people is go out and fail 100 times as fast as you can because your brain figures it out. But you have to do the work. You have to get rejected 100 times before something clicks. And some of us, you got to be rejected 50 times and some of us 10 times. But generally, by the time everybody gets rejected 100 times, it'll start to click for you. And it's the fastest way to learn is to actually do the work. So how do you set the activities up, right? That you do every day that you're good at and that you want to become great at, and go from this grind. I think you said it's time blocking. It's actually committing to do the time. I think of we got like 50% of the people here who are still doing their licensing education. I promise you, if you set up an hour a day to do your education, you will get through your real estate licensing education successfully if you do it an hour a day. That's all you got to do. Do an hour a day. I promise you, you will get through your licensing education. But if you think I'm going to wait till Friday and I'm going to do a 5 hour block, something inevitably comes up more important on Friday. One way or another, life will get in the way. So, how do you set those daily habits? How do you set your own accountability? Because that consistency gets you to the goal line in a more assured approach than saying, I'm going to bomb it in here, or I'm going to try to do it next week. I think that's what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah. So if you think about your big goal, it's, for example, maybe it's to bring in, let's just say, a $500,000 in real estate commission for yourself next year. Well, how do you know? What are the 5 or 6 key performance indicators that support that $500,000? Like
Yeah.
the legs under that. So, and you want to have many because let's say, for example, you say I'm going to just going to go to conferences and shake hands. Well, what if that doesn't work as well? So you have to have multiple things. For example, referral sources from mortgage brokers might be one area. I'm going to prospect another area. I'm going to attend a conference. So for me, Toby, I know there's 5 to 6 ways I can get business. So I set a goal in each area and ask myself, when is that key performance indicator satisfied? So, new business appointments. So someone starts with me, working with me, when I'm focusing more on selling, or when I did individual sales more, it was 5 new meetings a week.
Yeah.
That's the minimum. But there's some commitment to getting there.
Yeah.
Those don't come off out of nowhere. So how do I get there? I need to attend one chamber meeting a week. I need to make 5 calls a day, send 6 emails, see 2 referral sources, and be very clear on what it's going to take to get there.
I hope you're okay with this, but I'm going to share a little something with our people here about you, because I reference you within our organization. I said, Scott is one of the most professional and diligent salespeople I know. So Scott sells his product to Kaplan, and he's consistent, and he's there, and he's responsible, and so he kind of is a guy who is actually practicing what he preaches. So I just want to let you guys all know, listening it, and I hope you take that the right way, Scott. You are a classic consummate pro as a professional salesman.
Thank you. It
Yeah,
means a lot.
yeah, you do a really good job with that. So I would listen to him, people. He's a better salesman than I am by far, right? Does a great job. But let me ask you a question. If, looking ahead, how should someone identify, because we're not great at everything. How should someone identify a most critical skill, right, or knowledge area to start developing now to be relevant and successful in 2026? How should they identify that most critical skill and work on it? How should they do that?
Yeah, I would start, and thank you for the compliment. And one of the things, Toby, that talk about consistency, I just follow a sales process I was taught by Dale Carnegie. Because, for example, one of the ways to be consistent is to have a sales process. For example, an untrained seller might talk the whole time, as you mentioned, not have the EQ, not ask any questions, just dump. Or in real estate, let me just show you the house. Not, I've been looking for some houses recently, and you meet with a broker, they don't even ask you one question. What, Scott, where do you live now? Or what are you looking for? So a consistent sales process is really critical. To answer your question, if I was, we got 58% of the people here that have not gotten in the business, maybe they have sales experience prior, is I would turn to my agent or someone successful and learn the 4 to 6 habits or key performance indicators that make up a 1 to 3 year successful realtor. And I would start with the mixed bag. I would try them all, whether it's public speaking in the community or shaking hands or cold calling. And then as time, I would do that for a year and a half, because it takes about a year and a half to learn a new sales job. And at minimum, recruiting, Dale Carnegie, I mean, I may be longer in real estate, not to discourage people. You can make a sale in the first year, but we got to build it. I would have all of the 4 or 5 different activities, keep it fun, don't have just one. And then over time, you'll lean on what you do best and you'll just own that space. And so, for example, I've learned over time my best place to grow business is to be at a conference with leaders shaking hands. That's where I shine. That's where I make the best impression. Did I cold call, speak, do everything locally for 25 years? Absolutely, I did. But then now I know exactly what needs to be done.
Yeah, you'll figure it out, right? You fail 100 times, and all of a sudden you're going to. I know it sounds like 100. You might fail. You might be way clever, more clever than me, and you'll fail 20 times and go, "Oh, wait a second! I just hit on one where you had success. Why did I have success? What did I do right this time?" You will start to do it. You can't be afraid to fail. But really, what it comes back to once again, though, is are you doing the work? Are you setting aside the time? Are you creating the habits that are going to get you? I saw this really interesting, I can't remember the guy's name, but it was my kids send me these reels all the time. Like if I could make like regulated education as entertaining as a reel, I mean, we'd kill it. I mean, there would be no other educators in the world because I don't know why, but I fall into these reels. And there's a gentleman that gets on there and he talks about, you want to be successful, right? And he says all these people say, I think his name is Powell, but I'll double check that. But anyhow, he says, when you hear somebody says to a young person says, follow your passion, and he says the problem with that is that person's already rich. And how did they get rich? They were in iron smelting, and I promise you, it wasn't their passion when they started. What I would tell people, he says, is find what you're good at and become great at it. And once you're great at it, you will have, the value that you can bring being great at something will drive and become your passion because you're great at it. But find something you're good at and do it over and over and over again until you become great at it. And so, but his key point there was do it over and over and over until you become great at it. And what you did was you found what you were good at and you worked on it and worked on it, became great, shaking hands at conferences with leaders. And you were approaching an organization at the right level. And I would say this, for if I'm in real estate, the first thing I want to do is I want to be able to talk about real estate so people think I know what I'm talking about. So what are the habits I'm doing to set up this knowledge? Am I going and viewing homes in my area regularly, even though I don't even have a listing yet? Do I want to become an expert in my area? Am I seeing am I seeing 10 homes a week to become, because I promise you, you see 100 homes in your area, you are an expert on pricing. You are an expert on what the inventory and stock is in your community if you've seen 100 homes. I promise you that just happens, but it doesn't happen if you don't have a habit to get there, if you don't have a plan. Right. So if somebody feels overwhelmed kind of by this, Scott, what do you think? You help big organizations, you help leaders in big organizations kind of get through this same sort of problem. What's the single kind of simplest action somebody can take tomorrow to start building better habits? What's the single thing everybody on this webinar can do tomorrow to start building better habits?
So the first I would say is, what do you like to do? What do you like to do?
Hmm.
So I don't love to do paperwork and back office. So I've got to create the space, Toby, to do what I want to do. I coach other Dale Carnegie owners in this because some of them teach, they sell, and maybe they also do their back office. I'm like, well, let's figure out what's going to grow your business the quickest and maybe being out there. So I would start small, maybe pick one or two habits. Whether it's prospecting or, as you mentioned, going around houses, and start small so you can leave and say, I got it done. If you want to, if 100 houses is great, we can do it. But if maybe we start with 20 and we have 20 over 3 months and then we go to 30. And then when we're done with that, Tony, we ask ourselves, what was the impact of that? Right? Well, why am I proud that I did that? What did I accomplish? And reminding yourself of, because sometimes what we do, Toby, as you know, is maybe I'll see 20 houses and I'll say to myself, I should have seen 30. Well, no, well, let's talk about the 20. Let's pick out one or two interactions you had with those homeowners that you're proud of. Because one of the things that we know, and I'm not here to tell someone to have a positive attitude or yay, yay. That's not, we're talking about strengthening your attitude. And what does that mean? It's reminding yourself of what you are accomplishing.
Yeah.
How are you unique, right? What makes you the right fit? How have you earned the right to be here? And so the habits, if done right, produce some type of outcome. Remind yourself of what went well, and then we are able to strengthen our attitude. And as you know, through our discussions with even your colleague Andy Tempe, is the confidence is the key, lifeblood of success.
Yeah. Confidence. I think about all the tools that are available out there, like that people can enlist in, enroll in, subscribe in, but I think the key here is like you said, is find the thing you like to do, and find a way to measure its effectiveness. I think measuring is important. I think of this simple little. I'd ask a question. How many people here are on Strava? Do you know what Strava is, Scott? Like I said, I'm a big bicyclist. So Strava is this app where you track your bike rides or your running. So you can do running or biking or hiking and all that kind of stuff, right? Look, I got a couple thumbs up coming through. It's amazing when you actually track what you're doing and you see the progress. You see how you're getting faster and stronger over the same routes, right? Because it maps your whole ride. It tells you all your numbers and what your heart rate was. And, there's all this stuff. It's amazing by tracking what you're doing and seeing the results does for you, because it also tells you if you're not getting the results and that you got to try something else, right? So find a way to track what you're doing. Find a way to see what the results are. And like I said, there's plenty of coaching programs out there. There's plenty of goal tracking programs out there. I wish they made Strava for real estate, because then we'd have everybody, it'd be quite a thing. But well, you know what? Everybody's kind of sets goals. Like we're coming up on the time of year. It's not a coincidence that it's almost New Year's, and the New Year's resolution. I saw a couple of people say, "Oh, New Year's resolution. Let's go to the club, and we're going to start working out after New Year's." You know, what advice? Just a quick question. What advice would you give people who said, "I'm going to wait till after New Year's to start working out because I'm gonna." I mean, what would you tell them today?
Well, I would first start with, why are you working out?
Hmm.
Okay. you think about the why, why are you working out? Because that why is the motivation to stay consistent versus joining the gym and then being gone after a month, right?
Oh,
And the why, because I want to lose 20 pounds. Well, if there's nothing, where's the motivation to go beyond the first couple of sessions at the gym, right?
yes.
So what I would say to your example, and if we're talking more about the gym or anything, I would go with somebody. I would find someone better than me, and whether it's if you can afford to hire a trainer for the gym, or as you mentioned, someone. A lot of people will want to give. Like if I would even say now, if someone wanted to email me and say, Scott, could I talk to you for 10 minutes on the side about something? So many of us that have been successful are happy to give. So I would not go alone. I would go with someone and help them show me the ropes. Just like if you're a parent and you see your child around 1 years old stand up and they take a couple of steps and they fall back down, we cheer them on. So
Uh,
we need someone in our corner, Toby. So
that's funny. It's interesting, but having somebody with you or somebody expecting you to show up makes a difference, right? That's that social. I do, a lot of pickleball, a lot of bicycling is group. Pickleball is all, but I tell the people that I work with, I said, you need to find that group. You need to find that social connection that also helps with habits. If somebody says, where's Toby? How come Toby's not here today? And when you get up in the morning, right? I need to be somewhere. I need to be at work. Do you have a confidant? Do you have a friend? Do you have a mentor? Which was, I think, your first suggestion, right? Somebody who can help socially keep you, I wouldn't say accountable, but kind of accountable. Like you're expected to be there.
but, I treat every learner like I would treat someone like a child you're raising. We need encouragement. It's a first time. So we need to have someone around us that can reinforce what we're doing. And then there's a book that was written in the 70s. It's a very thin book, psychology book. It says, become your own best friend. And what that means is that we crave recognition from the outside, but how do we give it to ourselves? So if I show up at the gym for the first time January 5th, I need to really be proud of myself. No one knows I'm doing that because I was talking in my own head.
Yeah,
We really need to reinforce the things that we're doing so we can create that motivation.
yeah, beautiful. Well, inevitably, right? Life gets in the way, right? And what would you say to people that have fallen off track? Like and I get that way. All right. So I get really good with my training. I get really good with blocking my time at work to do my
Yeah.
work. It probably doesn't help that my team knows the time I blocked and they know that it's just blocked. So they can try to, bomb important stuff in there for meetings. And that's okay. But inevitably, I fall off of some of these good habits, right? What's the most effective way to reset? So how do I reset and regain momentum?
The um the first step would be not to have regret that we didn't do it the last 3 weeks because there's no such thing as catch up. We can't do anything with the time that already passed. So it's what we do right now. And to remind yourself that we can always start again, we can always reset. One of my and that life is not about perfection. I've got a friend of mine whose child got behind in school, and she didn't want to go. She was go to school, and then 5 days later, she still hasn't gone to school. So now, because she feels like she can't ever catch up, when the counselor told her, "Just get in here, just get in here. We'll figure it out. Stop the bleeding right away by taking that action now."
Stop the bleeding, take action now.
Right? Just jump in. One of my daily habits has been to read I want to be a better reader. I want to be a more consistent reader. So I subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. I didn't realize, Toby, that the Wall Street Journal is not just about finance. It was about everything. I learned this 3 or 4 years ago. I I got busy, but it's not an excuse because busy is not an excuse because my habit of reading was only 15 minutes a day. And if you can believe it, Toby, I didn't hit it a lot of times, but I took about a week off. And I started to ask myself, wow, I subscribed, I didn't do that. No, I'm reading it right now. I'm reading it right now. Forget nothing I can do about the past, can't control tomorrow. Dale Carnegie said in his famous book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, is to live in day tight compartments. We're only worried about right now.
Can we unpack that a little bit? That's a big, powerful thing. So, day tight compartments, meaning you compartmentalize your life and say, the past doesn't, I took the rear view mirror in my car and I ripped it off. I'm not looking backwards. All my failures, all my everything, they're gone. And tomorrow's not important. What do I do today?
What do I do right now?
Right now is the most important thing.
Yeah. And and it will reduce beating yourself up, right? And regret. It's not, you always hear all the time that, people talk about, I wish I spent more time with family, or I wish, you know what? Get in the car right this second. Just let's not talk. Let's just, those are thoughts that will hold us back.
Love that. I think about that, and I think about, getting back on track and getting that kind of that responsibility for yourself, and the ability to forgive yourself. Right? That's a big part of it. I tell everybody. So do you think there's times like, I think of myself. I know that I created a habit for one of my passions, which is bicycle riding. And I'm a crazy guy. I get up at 4:30 a.m. to ride outside with lights on and the whole thing. And there's like 10 other guys that I ride with who are crazy too. But it was a way to set a habit that I could meet, and that I was social, like you said, social. How do you have a mentor, a connector, somebody keeping you there? Um, and but I know that when I accomplish that in the morning, my day is like golden. Like nothing gets harder for me than that fight with my pillow at 4:30 a.m., right? It's the hardest fight I have all day. Do I get out of bed to go do this or don't I? But I've set up some stuff. I've set up, that people expect me to be there. I've got my Strava training app. I want to track my miles. I set a race later in the year that I knew I had to be prepared for. Do you think there's a whole a kind of a strategy you can do to set yourself up more for success, depending on maybe the time of day that you're going to attempt to complete your goals? I seem to have more resilience and more stick-to-itiveness in the morning than I do in the afternoon. Do you think there's a whole pattern to how you would kind of set your day to be successful?
100%. And I'm with you. Like, for example, I try to work out as much as I can, but if, there's a saying, if you have to eat a frog, do it first thing in the morning. So that way, because you know what happens to that frog? It's this big, and then around 3:30, it's this big. Or, if you have to get that paperwork done for your travel reimbursements, it's a pound right now, but by 6 o'clock, it's 10 pounds.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
it hurts everything else. So I would say, a couple of things I've learned to Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie said, do the thing you fear the most, and the death of fear is certain. That's one of the things that I've learned over time. And that's, one of the reasons that I become who I am and how I've grown is I've learned to always get out of my comfort zone. And because I realized that and I've got a great childhood, parents encouraged me. I realized that if I get out of my comfort zone, the risk of there's no risk, because if I don't mess up, no one's going to criticize me, and there's no harm. I'm only going to grow. So the eat the frog, and then the other thing would be, again, do the thing you fear the most, and the death of fear is certain. So for you, Toby, the getting out, maybe that 4 o'clock ride is the toughest part of your day. It will be even tougher at 3:30, I
Oh my
believe.
God. And it is. It is. If I
Yes.
miss it, more often than not, it doesn't happen at the end of the
Right.
day.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask one more question of everybody. Everybody, I got a poll question for you. how do you plan to make your career long term? You could pick one answer, all right? And there really isn't a wrong answer. There just might be a more right answer, but it's up to you. What do you guys think? If you're going to, how do you plan to make your career long term? Do you think you have a mentor? Perfectly good answer. Take lots of education. Yoo-hoo, Kaplan, I'm all in on that. Have a great business plan for sure. You got to have a great business plan. Who are you going to be in your marketplace? What niche are you going to fill? Build a lead generation machine. Absolutely. If you're going into real estate, understand you must be a lead generation machine. I like the way Scott has progressed through his career. His lead generating happens face to face, shaking hands at conferences with leaders. You figure out what your lead generation is, or create good habits and do them every day. I may have padded this one for an easy end
I love
poll.
these.
All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to end it, the poll, and I'm going to share the results. 17% have a mentor. Mentors are great. Find a good one. I do. Find a partner, find a mentor. Maybe your brokerage manager is your mentor. It's a great role for a brokerage manager as your business partner. Take lots of education. Love that one. No better way than compressing, you know, look at this. You guys just had 45 minutes with Scott Jarvis, 30 years of working with Dale Carnegie Organization compressed into 40 minutes, right? And I'm going to ask him before we're done here, what are the three big takeaways that you all should take away from this today? Lead generation machine, and of course, create good habits, 66%. We're right on there. All right, Scott, as we wrap this up, what are your one, two, maybe three golden nuggets? What should people really take away from this session today that's going to drive success, not only in 2026, but a long-term career in real estate?
I would say master the art and have the attitude of showing genuine interest in as many people as you can. I was on an airplane last year flying from London to Ibiza. And I love learning about people. And I sat next to me and I asked this gentleman, hey, is this your first time to Ibiza? We started talking. Toby, he's a global chief sales officer for a 50,000 person organization with 5,000 salespeople. And the business that we just started doing with them is tremendous. And this has happened to me a bunch of times. And that practice of showing genuine interest also allows you to sell the right way. So be interested and you'll be interesting. Is it something I live by from Dale Carnegie? Number two is to get out of your comfort zone, right? So for a lot of us, it might be, I'm going to do it. Dale Carnegie said, never turn down an opportunity to speak when you're asked. So building your presence through your confidence and getting out of your comfort zone, whether it's, I remember for me, when I got involved at Dale Carnegie, I always wanted to go after the big global accounts. Well, it's a lot easier, Toby, to sell to the individual contractor in Fort Lauderdale when they have 100 employees versus Apple that has 200,000 employees. But I wanted to get there. So I took more sales training and then started making calls to very big and important people. And then last but not least, I would say that readers are leaders. So find a habit of reading, whether it's your real estate journals, business books about the economy to learn where the market's going next. Maybe it's around mortgage rates. So continually find something to read. I'm not a cover to cover book person. I'm more of a snippet person. But most people tell me, man, you're really well read. You must read thousands of books a day. And there's plenty of ways like, book summaries or reading, just a way to keep your brain to learn about something else that might learn about something else that will create a habit and a new idea for you to do business.
I
So
love this last one. I love your reading. I should tell everybody my secret, and you can adopt it too, is I read one fun book and I read one business big mind book. And then I read a fun one a bit. But that's my habit. I did that because I tried doing all business and I was like, oh my gosh. oh my gosh. So I do one fun one, but I found a habit that works for me. And I am constantly reading. I've got over 250 books on my, in my library, my Audible library. And I also found a way to do books where I do it, where I can be bicycling, or I can be training, or I can be mowing the lawn, or I can do whatever. But I found a habit, and that's positive habit, not negative habit. Scott, you have been a wealth of information. I love that you're here with us. I really respect the Carnegie organization and what you guys do. People, I want to make sure that you can reach out. I think we shared Scott's email address. I'll just share this again as we sort of wrap up. And once again, Scott, I just wanted to thank you for being here. I wanted to thank you for being a part of this. And everybody else, here's to a positive 2026. Go out, create small habits, do them every day, go from good to great, and be successful. Thank you. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.